So David, thanks for joining us. Kind of just tell us a little bit about you and just kind of the field you're in and how you got started in that field.
Yeah, my pleasure. My name's David Butler. I'm the staff attorney and riverkeeper at Cahaba Riverkeeper, and so I do river advocacy work. Trying to protect and preserve the Cahaba River here in Birmingham, Alabama. Never would have predicted this is what I would do. Um, I was, when I was in college, I took some time over the summer. I was working at a place where they rented canoes and kayaks for people to take trips on the river, and a lot of the customers had questions about whether the water was safe to swim, about the wildlife that they saw, those kinds of things. And so I just really set out to learn more, to be a better guide on the river. And what I learned was disturbing, inspired me to kind of get involved as a volunteer and do more. And from that, I kind of got on the path that I'm on now, which is, being a part of the solution to ensure that, not only that we have access to clean water, but that our kids and their kids can enjoy the environment in the same way that we have.
That's awesome. I know we were talking and you said like, you came to the realization that a nonprofit is a business. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think I was like a lot of people. I thought nonprofits were all volunteers. I had seen a lot of stories in the news about some of the compensation that some of the bigger nonprofits, the executives received. And I thought that did make sense, that this is a volunteer kind of operation. Why does somebody need to make that much money? Um, and then I got involved with volunteering at different nonprofits, and you start to realize that in order to have the volunteers show up to do river cleanups or whatever, somebody has to be at the office, somebody has to work the phone, somebody has to answer the email. And so you have to have the same infrastructure as a normal business. And you have to inspire people to reach into their pocket and give you money, or give their time or energy or passion, to help you do the work that we all feel is so necessary. So it really changed my perspective to get involved as a volunteer, and to see what goes on behind the scenes, and what is required of a nonprofit just to exist, just to have a location where people can come for help. And also really understood the importance of nonprofits in a lot of these communities, whether it's river advocacy work, helping neglected or abused animals, people who need food and shelter, access to services. And so there's lots and lots of nonprofits that do really critical work. And none of those none of those organizations would exist if people didn't believe in them and donate money to help them do the work that they do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So with people donating money, they kind of like, I think I use the term customers and use the term members, but they are the people that are providing a lot of the revenue that's enabling the business to accomplish the nonprofit to accomplish its mission. So um, when you guys kind of like set out to see like I guess what is that what's the base, like what is your uh what have you found, what similarities have you found across members, what's some of the things that people share that want to get involved in as far as donating, what's some of the characteristics that they share?
Well, I think, for us, for our organization, one of the most common threads is that there are people who appreciate and enjoy the outdoors. I mean, we are a society on the move. We're busy, and especially during COVID, I think people really reconnected with being out in nature. When you were locked in your house and quarantined, the neighborhood park, or the state parks, were great places to go to get out, where you weren't necessarily around tons of people. And so that people really reconnected with um, a lot of things that maybe they enjoyed in their childhood, whether it's hiking, fishing, mountain biking. So that's one common thread. And then I think another, really common characteristic that we find in our members is that, um, they're not necessarily divided by politics. I mean, I think that a lot of times we try to decide what people's politics are by their interests, and clean water is a non-political issue. And so we find a lot of our members have very diverse backgrounds, but they recognize the importance of clean water, protecting the environment, and I think they also recognize the ways in which the government kind of fails us. And so in a lot of ways, whether it's regulation or enforcement, um, our agencies just don't have the resources. Sometimes they don't have the will to enforce the law, and we get that those problems that are left unaddressed continue to compound until we have really a critical failure somewhere that affects lots of people. And I think our members recognize that if we can catch those things before they become critical, that it benefits all of us.
Okay. So let me ask you this: how does the private sector, um, benefit you guys, and how do you guys benefit the private sector outside of just, you know, uh, you know, the overall clean water? But what's the uh, what's the message that you would have for like people in the private sector, independent businesses, of how they can get involved and what how it might benefit them, outside of the goodwill?
Yeah, so we have there's a lot of ways that our paths cross, and I think a lot of times people in the private sector are scared of organizations like mine. They think that we're out to get them, and that we're vastly different people, that we never want to cut down a tree, that we want no development, and the reality is much different. I mean, I live in a house, I drive a car, my kids go to school, we have computers, we do all the same things that other people do. But the biggest way that we kind of interact with the private sector is that we help people stay in compliance with the law. And a lot of times what we find is that when we go into these organizations that have business that impacts our watershed, that um, they're just like you and I. I mean, they don't set out in the morning to destroy the river or harm the environment. Sometimes they don't know, kind of what the consequences of what they're doing. It's not an intentional effort to destroy something. It's an effort to build something. And so um, we go out and work with them to ensure that they're doing everything that they can to honor what quite frankly, almost every company that we work with has an environmental pledge that they pledge to do everything they can to minimize their impact on the environment. And so we play a role in helping them achieve that. And you can look back at kind of some of the largest issues we've had in our watershed. And, we've worked very collaboratively with the companies that have had issues. So, just an example, Colonial Pipeline had a couple releases of gas in our watershed, and we worked with them both times to ensure minimal impact on the river. And I can't say enough about the trust and faith that they placed in us to welcome us into the response center, and give us access to the information that we needed, and work with us to achieve what we both say we want, which is to protect the environment. And um, I think that experience really taught me to give everybody an opportunity to do the right thing. And more often than not, companies want to do that. Like I said, companies are staffed with people just like you and I that enjoy fishing and camping and canoeing and kayaking. And so we find that most of the time these guys want to do the right thing, and any way that we can help them do that helps us all.
It's awesome. So tell me, David, what's some of the biggest challenges that you guys are facing as a nonprofit?
Yeah, so I think, unfortunately, there's just, long list of challenges, but one is certainly the resources, right? Like, so, every dollar that comes into our organization, we have to go find. It's not like we have a product that we put out on the shelf and people can walk by the grocery store and decide they want clean water. I mean, we have to individually connect with every member, to inspire them to support our work, and so that's certainly challenging. And along those lines, what the resource challenge creates is a technology challenge. So, you look at a big multi-billion-dollar international company, and they have the newest and latest of everything. And when it comes to monitoring our environment, we just don't invest the same type of resources that we do in, building things. So, when you look at what is really difficult for us, it's just a lack of information. We don't have um, the kind of detailed information about the river historically that would help us track how it's changed and how we're affecting it. You can go back. We could Google right now. The leading rusher for Alabama football over the last 100 years, and I could get that information in 2 minutes or less. And if we wanted to know the historical flow of the Cahaba River, we certainly couldn't go back 100 years, right? We couldn't look back and see how the way that we've developed here has changed the way the river flows. And so that's a significant challenge when we're telling people that we're impacting the environment. It's very difficult to show them because we just haven't collected that information. And I think another huge challenge that we have is just sort of the mentality of the region that we live in. We're slow to adopt new things, which in some ways is great. We have a lot of old tradition and heritage here that we honor and value. But when it comes to adapting and changing and looking for new solutions to old problems, we're a little slow to do that. So to overcome that challenge is certainly a difficult thing.
Okay. So how are you guys getting the message out now? Like what avenues are you guys taking? And do you think you guys have done a great job at articulating, the story you guys want to tell to the general public?
Yes, I think we can always do better. I mean, we have a website, we have very active social media channels. We do a lot of outreach, go speak in person, talk to people. We do a lot of volunteer events where we bring people out and show them what the problems are. Um, and we have an education program where we're teaching young people kind of some of the issues that we're faced with and what their role is, how they can be part of the solution. So we try, all these different avenues to get the message to people, but it kind of goes back to the resource challenge that I mentioned. So we don't have a PR department, we don't have a communications team. I mean, we have a group of people who have very diverse jobs. I mean, in my normal day, I may be out looking at pollution. I may be talking to a concerned citizen. I may be writing or interviewing with the media, fixing an IT problem. I mean, so in terms of how we communicate the message, we do the best that we can. But I think something that we talk about internally, we can always do better, and we're trying to understand how people consume information and deliver it to them where they are, because as I'm sure we've definitely seen a change in how people consume information, what their attention span is. Unfortunately, the message that we're trying to communicate is not the same as you know a dog that can do a new trick, right? That you can do in 15 seconds and make somebody laugh. And and keep their attention for that 15 seconds. It's complicated, it's difficult to understand. Sometimes it's painful. I mean, sometimes the truth is that the problems that we face are of our own creation, and nobody really loves to be blamed for anything. And I think we start by acknowledging, our personal responsibility. So, me, like I said, I have a car, I live in a house. We um, you know, sometimes bring styrofoam containers home from the restaurant. All things that we all need to be aware of. And so I think that's the way that we try to communicate, is that we're all in in this situation together, and we try every avenue that's available to us.
Looks like you guys got to have a tough sale there, as far as so many things seems like it works against you. One, I think, is when you magnify the problem to the size of the problem, the size that it really is. It seems like it connects to other agendas. It just seems like people associated with um, you know associated with, like you said, political, or something like that. When you're talking about something very local, um, and that people do care about, but when you really express it in a way that they can kind of really see it, you have to speak about it, uh, and it's almost a broader. When it gets so broad, it gets into the things that people are divided about. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so it's like that's a but it's a big problem that needs, seems like, from what you're saying, uh, the correct amount of resources directed toward it to effectively affect it.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, I think that's another challenge. I mean, it can quite honestly be overwhelming. I mean, when you start to think about the magnitude of the problem, and what it would require from each individual to really solve it, it can be overwhelming. And like you said, I think one of the things I hear most is I'll go out and talk to people, and they'll say, well, you must be
Yeah,
this political affiliation. And I say, well, I don't know what any of that has to do with what we're talking about, right? Like
yeah,
here, we're talking about the um pervasiveness of single-use plastics, right? I mean, there's not a party that has been the solution to that problem, right? So we're
yeah,
all in that together. We all go to the store and buy a single-use plastic water bottle, right? Or our kids take individual servings of everything wrapped in plastic to school. We drink with straws at the restaurant. And so it's not as narrow as a political problem. It is a societal problem. And like I said, some of the realities that we're facing when you think about just single-use plastic is a great example. You have, on the one side, you have all these businesses that are um, in the business of providing these products, so they certainly don't want to limit their the ability for them to sell, whether it's a single-use plastic shopping bag or straw. And then on the other side, you have people like me who are saying, hey, like, I understand that. I understand the need for these products, right? But there has to be a greater awareness of what the impact is. And so on the highest peak in the world and the lowest valley in the ocean, you can find plastic that has come from our activity. And so as we move forward into the future, is that the world we want to create, where everything is coated in plastic? And I don't think most people believe that is the world that they want to live in. And so that's not a Democrat or a Republican. That's just a person. That's a human, somebody who recognizes the importance of a healthy environment.
yeah. Makes sense to me. So, and as we get ready to kind of wrap up, kind of tell me a little bit, what do you envision? What's your vision for um, yeah, the nonprofit you work for? How do you see you guys progressing? as far as getting the message out there and putting some of those, getting some of those resources you talked about. And uh, how do you see the future?
Yes, I think as I look out into the future, I think I recognize that we are going to have to adapt. We're going to have to be better media producers. We're going to have to work with film and video more than we have in the past. I think that um, we're also going to have to um, really spend more time. Creating a strategy to communicate a message that people can digest, that they can understand. Strip out all the technical scientific terms and be able to create a basic message that inspires people to make changes in their own personal life. And I think as we continue to grow, the future for us is creating a digital map of the river that includes all the information that we could collect, so that future generations can look back and say, this is what the condition health of the river was in 2022, and this is how much it's changed in the past 20 years, which will really help guide and inform future decisions. And so through those efforts, I think that we have to create a story that connects to every person. And so I think in the nonprofit world, um, we have to spend so much time focusing on people who have already supported our work, that sometimes we don't expand our footprint the way that we need to. Because what I tell people all the time when I'm out talking about the river is that all the people who thank me and appreciate the work that I do, I don't do it by myself. Our organization doesn't do it by ourselves, and without the participation of people who care, who are willing to learn about, inform themselves, the river, um, this work is not possible. And so without growing our membership and inspiring people to give, we can never achieve what we want to achieve.
Well, I think that's a great way to look at the future. And I really do thank you for your time, David. It's very informative. Um, how can people find you guys online? How can they support? How can they, look into the membership?
Yeah, so we have a website at cahabariverkeeper.org. Um, and we're on every social media channel, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. And so you can certainly follow us there. That's a little bit easier way to keep up with our work. And then from any of those places, you can find the opportunity to become a member and support our work.
Uh, that sounds awesome. Thanks, David, for the time. And like I said, it's very informative. Um, and hopefully, people go out, visit that website, and just look into what you guys do and the importance that it is, in the community.
Hey, it was my pleasure, William. Thank you so much. And yeah, I certainly hope that whether it's our organization or watershed in the area that they work, that people take the time to learn about what we do, what we truly do, and consider becoming a member and supporting that work, because it is critically important. And you can see all across the country, there are people that are dealing with water issues today, and without real commitment to do something different, we will all have those challenges in the future.
So true.